This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Podcast Network. My name is Chris Blades, and before I get started today, I want to remind you guys, as always, to make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode. Make sure you're always on top of when we drop our latest stuff. If you could please as well, give us a 5-star rating or ask us a review. Very appreciated, very helpful. See what you guys like, what you guys dislike, way we can improve, all that fun stuff. And also, if you're on social media, we are on social media, so you can find us there: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We can talk, we can chat, we can debate, we can discuss. And there was a lot of discussion about the future of college basketball today. Well, today being, I'm recording this on Thursday, so yesterday when you guys hear this, but on Thursday, I should say. There's a lot of discussion about this on Thursday, and mainly because we are starting to see some players take their talent to the G League as opposed to going and playing at insert college name or university name here. And we will get into whether or not I think that will be a trend, how it will affect the NCAA down the line. But for starters, California's top high school basketball player, Jalen Green, the number one prospect in the 2020 ESPN Top 100, is making the leap to reshape the NBA professional pathway program, a G League initiative that sources say will pay elite prospects $500,000 plus. Provide a one-year development program outside the minor leagues, and provide a one-year development outside the minor leagues traditional team structure. So Green, like I said, is a potential number one pick in the 2021 draft. Said Thursday that he's going to bypass college, be the professional pathway's first participant. A decision that likely clears the way for more commitments from elite prospects in the not-so-distant future. His decision to join the NBA and the G League's developmental program for the 2020-2021 season has brought implications for the future of the NCAA and the NBA landscapes. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and G League President Sharif Abdul-Rahim have worked to eliminate two massive hurdles to convincing players uninterested in college basketball to pass on the lucrative NBA National Basketball League of Australia by providing a massive salary increase and a structure that doesn't include playing full-time in the G League. Once top NBA prospects such as LaMelo Ball, RJ Hampton chose to play professionally in Australia, Silver became more determined in pushing Abdul-Rahim to explore a financial and basketball structure that enticed top prospects. Green represents a massive breakthrough for the NBA's long-standing goal of gaining access to top prospects who want an alternative to the NCAA. I know they also talked up the NBL, the league in Australia that LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton were a part of, and others have been a part of in the past, just because of its. We talked that up and said it's very real and a very intriguing program for potential draftees in terms of if they don't want to play college basketball for a year, which I could understand because there's a lot of rules and regulations you have to follow. I mean, that's life, but there's a lot of rules and regulations, things you can do, things you can't do, and also on top of everything, really, which is the biggest thing in my opinion, you're making no money. Now, like I said, they're supposing to let you make money off your likeness in the near future. I think in 2021, I believe, is when those rules can start coming into effect. So that'll change some things, but for the time being, if you are a top prospect, there's little to no benefit in you playing in the NCAA, honestly, for you, other than, I guess, playing time, exposure, whatever. But there are other ways to get that exposure, also making money. The NBL being one, but now this new G League initiative being another one. Green is committing to become a part of the year-long development program with the G League oversight that will include professional coaching, top prospect, and veteran players who continue training in exhibition competitions against the likes of G League teams, foreign and national teams, and NBA academies throughout the world. Sources said the season could include 10 to 12 games against G League teams that wouldn't count in standing. Sources said the primary objective will be assimilation and growth into the NBA on several levels, from playing to the teaching of life skills. The salary bonus structure in Green's contract, for example, is expected to include financial incentives for games played, completing community events, and attending life skills program coordinated by the G League's oversight of the program, sources said. So yeah, I mean, I'm getting this all from ESPN, so there's a lot more in the article that we can go through. Also, I guess the last two things I'll touch on is first, the NBA's plan is to stock this team with veteran pro players who would be willing to balance mentorship of Green and other prospects with the personal opportunities that might emerge because of the intense NBA scouting exposure that will come from this. And also, he's not going to be alone. Apparently, Isaiah Todd, who was a McDonald's All-American and the number 13 player in the ESPN Top 100, is, as I believe, to be joining. I don't know if that's official or not, but I saw something earlier today where it is believed that he's going to be joining that. I think they're making a Southern California team, because I know he's from Fresno. Green is. So I think they're making a team down there as to be like this first team to be a part of this initiative. But I think overall, it's obviously a great idea. It's because it gives people another alternative. If they're not going to, which I think they very well may do in the not so distant future, if they're not going to lower the age to where you have to be 1 year removed from college or 1 year removed from high school, I should say, in order to be able to play in the NBA, like if you can't just go straight from high school, which I mean, most guys aren't ready to do. But if you can't go straight from high school, then if you're a top, let's say maybe top 15 to top 20 player, you could argue it makes little sense for you not to take part in the G League initiative or like go overseas and play somewhere. Just because, again, all right, you go to insert random college. You go to Duke, you go to Kentucky, North Carolina. I don't know who else. No, I don't know. Oregon, Memphis, wherever you decide you want to go. All right, cool. You go there, play some games, maybe make the tournament. I mean, a lot of these teams will make the tournament. So you make the tournament. Very rarely does the team full of the best freshmen win the tournament, so you don't really win anything. And then you did all that. You compete again against college players, deal with all that, and then you kind of just like move on. And that's cool. Like, again, that's not a bad thing. Getting the footsteps or the beginning steps of an education is not necessarily a bad thing. But if you're a guy who knows, all right, I'm only using this for the opportunity to go to the league, then now why not already be a part of something that is connected to the league? Because, I mean, obviously, again, it's not like you're on a G League team. You're a separate entity in a sense, is the way it sounds like to me in this article. And I guess obviously as it goes on, we'll get more details and make it clearer for us. But you're a separate thing. You're not on a G League team. You're on a separate thing. You'll get training, mentorship, life skills, obviously get paid, and then you'll compete against G League teams, which also will give you an idea of what it will be like to compete in the NBA, because these are guys that are professionals. These aren't college kids, where even if you're playing against a good college team, if you have a great college player, you can dominate. Not all, and that's not always going to be the case, especially as a freshman. That's not always going to be the case if you're going up against grown men, especially guys that maybe played in the league and are back down trying to get their shot, because you would think I was wanting to take this opportunity if they're playing against you. Especially, I mean, maybe we'll see, because if the games don't matter towards the standings, it might not mean as much to them. But I guess they know a lot of eyes are going to be on this team of prospects, so they're going to want to try to show out so that they can get the opportunity to get called up. So people are getting, not that in college they don't give it their all, but again, the game is just different. It's slower, it's tighter because the court's a little bit smaller. There's a lot of nothing the first 10, 15 seconds of the shot clock. just like movement for movement's sake, not really trying to get anything going. In my opinion, again, I know there are some people that are very, very hard. College basketball is better than NBA people. I'm not one of them. I like the best level of things, and the NBA is obviously the best level of basketball, at least in America. I'm not, well, in my opinion, in the world, but easily in America. It's like the players are better, the teams are better, the coaching's better, the players are better, schemes, the way the movement handles, everything's better in the NBA compared to college. College may be more unpredictable, but everything else, in my opinion, is better in the NBA, which is why I prefer the NBA. But like I was saying, for these elite level guys that are really only using college as a stepping stone, which isn't a bad thing, but they don't have any, they have no connection to the school per se. I mean, well, I don't want to say that because again, a lot of these guys do come back and watch games or communicate with the coaches if you go to the right program. But a lot of them, well, some of them, maybe you don't. You're just like, all right, I went here because it gave me a good opportunity to play as a freshman, and then I'm just going to leave. So it's like, all right, if that's all you care about and that's all you want to do, then might as well just go into this G League thing. Now you're already be connected to the league to begin with. So I think it's a good idea from that standpoint. And also in terms of the NCAA side of things, kind of a lot of people are like, oh, the NCAA is dead. NCAA, I don't know how they're going to survive, blah, blah, blah. To a degree, yes, I can agree with that. Because if you look at this past season, in my opinion at least, it was a little down, but that was mainly because all the best players, arguably, weren't playing. So you got, like I said, you have LaMelo Ball overseas, you got R.J. Hampton overseas, you got James Wiseman, who was ruled ineligible and then left Memphis. Cole Anthony spent a lot of the year hurt. There's another guy in the top 5, like Denny something. He was overseas. And Anthony Edwards was on a terrible team. So it was like, obviously there were good teams throughout college basketball, but it was like, what were you watching the regular season? Like, no one's, like, what were the big games? What were the big moments? What were the games you're like, oh, I need to watch this. I can't miss this. There wasn't really that, it wasn't the same sense as opposed to the year before when you had Zion, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish on the same team. Like, all right, anytime Zion's playing, I need to watch this. There wasn't that effect in college basketball this year, or that person, I should say in college basketball this year, that everyone was like, I need to watch this guy play whenever he's playing, for various reasons. Obviously, there wasn't just one specific reason, but for various reasons, it wasn't that guy. And because of that, affect the regular season stuff, because no one really cared or talked about it or mentioned it or didn't, it just, like, obviously it happened, but it didn't really have the impact it normally would when you have, like, these top-level players at these big-time schools. Like, even, like, those Kentucky teams, like, a couple years ago with, like, Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker and the Harrison twins and Ulyss and Cauley Stein, like, they were doing the whole platoon thing. Like, that was just interesting. There was a lot of good players, the teams, I guess, Trey Lyles on that team, too. One of the people that were going to be in the league, and obviously they were running a system where they had 2 teams worth of good college players. So you're like, all right, I'm tuned in to watch. Even like the Wisconsin, Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker, like they were good players around. Even outside of Zion last year, like Trae Young, he was a big star. Like he was a point just because you weren't sure how many points he was going to score whatever game it was. So like there wasn't that same sense of, in my opinion, obviously they were great players, but just like there wasn't that like star. I think that's what's going to hurt the NCAA, is that they're not going to be those stars anymore. They're going to get people to watch regular games in December and January. Like, everyone's going to tune in, outside of, like, diehard fans and, like, gamblers, obviously, because the people will bet on anything. So, obviously, that's not going to go away. They're still going to have a fan base, but it's just, like, the casual fan's not going to be like, oh, let me watch this Duke game at 7 o'clock or let me watch this UNC game or Kentucky game or wherever, just because, again, if the stars aren't going to be there, if they decide to take a different route, that'll hurt them. And then obviously they'll be fine for the big thing for them is the NCAA tournament. That's not going anywhere. People still, it doesn't matter if there are stars there or not. People are going to tune in because, again, bets and stuff. So, and I'm saying the NCAA is not going to die. I don't think it's not going to go anywhere per se. Just that, like, I just think there'll be less intrigue on the regular season if these guys decide to do this. Obviously, we don't know I mean, a couple guys doing it doesn't mean everyone's going to do it, but if they're successful, then this could be a huge domino. And obviously, LeVar Ball hasn't been right about everything, but this is kind of what his idea was for the JBL. Obviously, there's just a better infrastructure in place, I would imagine, with the G League initiative. But this is basically what he was trying to do. Just create a league for guys that didn't want to go to college, to play, get paid, get exposure, and like grow, so that when they get to the NBA, in theory, they're more ready. And they don't have to go overseas to do it. So, like I said, he's not right about everything, but this is kind of a similar idea. Not to say that they piggybacked off of it or whatever, but it's like, this is kind of what I imagine he would have liked to have done. And obviously not, the first iteration of things is not always the best. Sometimes you need to see people make mistakes in order to get a better idea of how it's going to work. And maybe that's the case with this, but this is kind of what he was going for. Obviously fell apart, but the vision still made sense. And again, Jalen Green and potentially Isaiah Todd see the vision with the G League initiative. So they're going to be the test subjects. See how it goes. If it goes well, then I think this is going to be a thing for more players, more of the top players. Like I said, there's a lot of players that are going to go to college, and not everybody is going to be able to leave after their first year. No, not everybody's ready. But for those guys that think they're ready, or like the Amani Bateses of the world who won Gatorade Player of the Year as a sophomore, like, does he need to step foot on college campus? Not really. It would just be a waste of his time, personally. And just go make some money in the meantime, then get drafted. Like, or hopefully you'll be 18 by then, you can leave right from high school. Whatever. But I'm saying, like, he doesn't need to. What does he need a year of college for, personally? That's just my opinion. But yeah, so guys like that, they could use this. So yeah, like I'm saying, there's definitely going to be a market for this, and there's going to be a pool of players that will utilize this, but it's not going to be everybody. So that's why I'm saying I don't think the NCAA is just going to die off, because not everybody's going to do this. Not everybody is good enough to do this. People may think they are, but not everybody's good enough to do this and then be ready for the league the next year. There's a select few people, and those few people, it makes perfect sense for them to do this. Everybody else is going to go to college for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, however many ever years they feel is necessary. So I don't know. Like I said, great in theory. We'll see how it works in actuality in the next year, assuming sports are up and running by then. But yeah, like I said, great. Anytime people get paid, I'm happy for it, especially college athletes who are some of the most exploited workers out there, honestly. Get paid in the form of a free education. That's not a payment. Most of them don't even stay in enough time to get the free education. Most of them take classes that aren't really that useful outside of needing to pass a course. So you people can always miss you with that free education stuff. But that's just me. Not everybody feels the same way. That is me. But yeah, so speaking of college, I know a lot of people are kind of fearful of how college sports in general, football, basketball, whatever, will look like without fans. And I'm here to tell you that if there are no fans, there's no college sports. I'm going to let you guys know that right now. And explain why I think that, so the people's reactions to it, the way they think, but also just like I said, why I think if there's no fans allowed, there's going to be no college sports at all in this next however long it is. We'll discuss all that right after this break. Stay tuned.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Network. So, college football, no fans. I thought about talking about this last week after Mike Gundy's comments. I wanna look, seeing as I have them here now, I might as well look them up. I know he caught some flack for his original coronavirus related comments. He said that the goal was to return to football for like Oklahoma State players to return to the football building on May 1st because he hoped that tests for COVID-19 would be available in a few weeks to clear both employees and players. A proposed timeline the university and its athletic director quickly disputed. And then obviously he had to walk back and apologize. And he'd also said that if somebody were to test positive after returning to work, that people would quarantine, just like we do people that get the flu. We get people that get the flu during the season, we quarantine them, we treat them, we make sure they're healthy, we bring them back. It would be the same thing here, but at some point we got to go back to work. Keyword, work. We've got to get these guys back in there. He also said from what he read, the healthy people can fight this, the antibodies make it better, and then they're doing a bunch of other things. And then the school basically have to say, like, hey, look, don't listen to anything he just said, because the decision on whether the football team comes back is not up to him, so what he says does not really matter. And that was important. And I think, like I said, his comments kind of show what would, and I guess this was kind of, also I got this idea from Paul Feinbaum clip that was on the timeline earlier today from Get Up, where he basically said that if they play college football with no fans, like just have the teams house them however you need to house them, do whatever, then like you're officially saying that this isn't an amateur thing anymore. Like, this is really like, it's not a professional sport, but it's like a legitimate sport, because that's like the whole reason is for profit. Like, the only reason we're doing this is so people can make money, not the players, but everybody else can make money. And obviously in the ideas of, I mean, most people know that that's basically what college athletics are, but for the people that still believe it's like amateur and it's kids and all that stuff, that will officially be dispelled if they play these games with no fans, because clearly it's just about making money and being able to satisfy the TV rights deal and all these other things. But yeah, so like I said, the key word in Mike Gundy's statement was work. We have to get back to work, and I'm saying that's kind of, again, that would be the point, is if they do this, if they have these people come back, then that's what it is. Like, they're basically employees. Like I've said, they're the most exploited workers. Well, some of the most exploited workers in all the country, college athletes are. But this would, like I said, that would basically go to further prove the point, is that people are saying they need to get back to work. Like, this is basically a job for them, which, I mean, if you've talked to any college athlete and the way their schedule is structured, especially if they're at, I mean, any athlete, not even just like a major university or major sport. Like, if any athlete, their schedule is set up like it's a job. Like, you are from here, you have to be here from this and this time, you have this time to do this time to do that, you gotta be here, you gotta be there. They don't have a whole lot of wiggle room or free time that most college students have. It's the enjoyable thing about college, is that you kind of are on your own, you can make your own schedule, do whatever you want to do what you don't want to do. I mean, or not do what you don't want to do, stuff like that, and athletes just don't have that ability. They're basically working a job, again, without getting paid. They're getting paid through education or whatever. But that's why I'm saying there's no way you could do this, because at the end of the day, if students aren't allowed back on campus, then how are these guys being able to be allowed on campus? Because in reality, they're students first. At least they should be students first. That's the way everyone claims, the whole free education thing. That's what they get. Like, if they're students first, and there's no way you can have college athletics with no fans, because clearly that means it's not safe for the students. Like, imagine if they allowed students back on campus for whatever reason. The lessons back on campus. They're saying, okay, we're going to allow you back on campus, you guys can go to classes or whatever, but we're not going to have fans in the stands. One, that kind of takes the whole effect of college athletics away, like the whole home field advantage, like all the chants, all the noise, all the whole atmosphere of college football. I mean, you can say this about all sports, honestly, which is why I think it's going to be weird when they do it. But professional sports, again, are for profit, so it makes sense why they're going to do it. These guys got to get paid. But for college athletes, if they're not getting paid, so you're not doing this for them. You're doing this strictly for the university so they can make money, TV rights, whatever. But yeah, like I'm saying, without fans, like the whole essence of the sport is gone. That's a big part of it. I mean, again, obviously not everybody watches the game in the stands, but when you're watching the game from home, you can hear the roar of the crowd. You notice the effect of when a guy can't hear and he jumps off or he false starts because he can't hear the snap count. You can hear the effect of when the officer trying to get signals or the quarterback trying to make audible and the receivers or running backs, like they can't hear what he's saying. Or he has to kind of jumble around and then the delay of game is caused because they can't communicate properly. Like that stuff, not that's the biggest part of the game, but that part of the game is taken away now if you don't have any fans because now there's literally no noise. You can hear literally everything that's going to happen on the field. So that's one, it'll just be a weird atmosphere. But two, like I'm saying, it can't be healthy. So like if for whatever reason, it's probably not going to happen, but if for whatever reason certain universities allow their students back on campus in September, August, September, whenever. But again, they say that there's no fans. So that means it's not safe for students to go be near each other for the game, but it's safe enough for them to be in classrooms close to each other and then for the athletes to play their sport. How are you going to police the spread of it, basically, is what I'm saying. Because I'm saying a lot of younger people, not that 18, 19, 20, whatever is that young, but a lot of, this is mainly so kids, but a lot of, even just in general, a lot of people are asymptomatic, so you don't even know that you have it when you have it. So now you're passing it along, you're a carrier, you're giving it to other people. Now it's going to put the professors in danger. That's going to put the coaches in danger. It's going to put faculty, other members of the faculty, trainers, equipment, strength and conditioning coaches, like whoever. It's going to put a lot of other people in danger because these athletes may be around students within their classes that have it. Now they catch it and now they pass it along. And also that's the other thing. The whole thing with this and why I think it's going to be hard for any of this to work, which I will touch on more in a little bit in the next segment, is that if one person catches it, you basically have to shut everything down. Like, I understand quarantining them and whatever. Maybe with quicker tests, you'll know faster who does and doesn't have it. But if a guy on your team has it, how do you continue? Because if someone on your team has it, that means someone on your campus has it, which means you don't know, unless you're going to test everybody on the campus at the same time, you'll never know who does and doesn't have it. Because I don't think that's how they're going to do it. Obviously, you would hope with better tests and things you may be able to, but I don't think there's going to be a widespread test for the entire campus if one person has it. I don't think that's how it's going to work. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's how it's going to work. So with that being said, then how are you going to be able to tell who does and doesn't have it? Because even if no one else on your team caught it, luckily, that doesn't mean that they might not get it from the same person that the one person that does have it caught it from later on down the line, and then now they pass it along. It's just a whole mess. You can't risk that. And then the whole downside to me of starting sports back up is having to shut them down again. Because to me, it just doesn't seem like a point. There's no point for it. So like I'm saying, if it's not safe, and I think it was Geno Smith that made this point a couple weeks back, but it's not a point I'd originally thought of, but it's a very good point. And I think maybe I mentioned it on this podcast already too, but if it's not safe for people to be watching games near each other, why is it safe for people to be playing them? And again, I understand why they're going to do it because money and all that stuff, but in theory, if it's not safe for people to go back to work, it's not safe for people to go watch the games in their stands, it's not safe for people to go to bars, it's not safe for people to go to concerts, all this stuff. How is it safe for people to be on a field bang into each other for hours at a time? Multiple times, well, at least once a week for football and multiple times a week for all other sports. How is that safe? You know what I'm saying? College football is no different. If it's not safe for students to be there, it's not safe for fans to be in the stands, it's not safe for students to be on campus, how in the world is it safe for them to play this sport? That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Even if, like I said, if you house them, you keep them all together, you check their temperature every day, blah, 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 that's great. All it takes is one person to catch it, and now it's a whole big thing. Like I'm saying, one person caught it in the NBA, and literally that shut every other league down, for the most part. One person, well, I guess technically two people, but two people caught it on the same team. a majority of the other teams don't even have a case as of this moment. Like, I think a couple guys on the Lakers had it, a couple guys on the Nets have it. Christian Wood had it. I think that's about. I know Nuggets staffer had it. But that's really about it. It's not like it's like hundreds of people in the NBA had it. It was a few people. It's a very small percentage. But that small percentage was enough to shut down the entire league. So what happens when it's 12 different teams across the NCAA, or 15 or 20 or how many ever? Because again, a lot of these people are talking about opening the country back up in like a month, or not even a month, a couple of weeks, which may not be a good idea. But I'm not a doctor, so I don't know for certain. But yeah, so you have different states that have different rules on this thing. So now you're talking about, hundreds of college teams. Now you don't have to have a fifth or whatever. You just say like 5 teams have it, or 5 teams have a case of it on their team. All right, they can't play their next game. Then and they can't travel. They can't go anywhere. The other players can't leave anywhere. It's just a whole mess. And like I'm saying, so then now these 18-year-old kids, like, how do they eat? Do they go to class? Do they still do the remote learning? Like, how does that work? They can't see their families because, again, all these other professional sports are talking about, like, just housing these people in a hotel for how many ever months. So you're doing that with the kid, an 18-year-old kid is freshman on campus and is going to be stuck in a room, in a hotel room, and just interact with football players for 3 or 4 months at a time until the season's over. Like, it doesn't seem logical to me. You know what I'm saying? If it does happen, then I don't think it's the end of college football, like Feinbaum said, but I think it does go to show once and for all that this is not an amateur sport. It's a for-profit business, college athletics. And again, the workers are just getting none of it, which not uncommon in a capitalist society, but such is life. But yeah, I think that part of it I do believe in, is that this will really show that this is not it's not an amateur sport that we think it is. It's a legitimate thing. So that would be a nice way for everyone to be like, hey, once and for all, like, this is an amateur. This is legit for profit. This is the only reason why we're having this, is so because people are going to lose money if we don't. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Professional sports happening is one thing. College athletics happening, I don't see how it's possible. Especially if if universities aren't going to have people back on campus, how in the world can you have athletics take place? It doesn't make any sense to me. But we shall see. Let's see after this next break, we're going to come back and discuss COVID-19 finally infiltrating the NFL. A couple players now have it. An executive has, and as I said, it just goes to show anything you may think or anything you may believe about a timetable for when things can return is probably way off. It's probably way off. But yeah, so we'll discuss that right after this break, so stay tuned.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Presented by GSMC Podcast Network. So as I said, COVID-19 has finally infiltrated the NFL, and now players are getting it as well. I think also not to shortchange this, but I think a Chargers team official or some team employee got it, like before this. But now in back-to-back days, we've had news come out about players getting it, and obviously the most high-profile, one of the most high-profile names that you're going to have out of anybody, but obviously the people so far is none other than Broncos Pro Bowl linebacker Von Miller. They tested positive for the coronavirus on Thursday. They said basically he was just home. He got a little cough, and obviously it's a big deal for him because he has asthma. So that could the shortness of breath could really be a big thing for him, which is why, again, it's important to stay home and do all the little things. So like, even if you obviously you can't stay home all the time because there's people got to eat and stuff like that. You need to have supplies around your house. So if you gotta go to the store, wear a mask, wear gloves, but also, again, be aware of cross-contamination. I've watched a couple videos on this, not to go deep into the science, the specifics here on a sports podcast. But again, if you're wearing the gloves, if you touch a bunch of different things, and then you touch like a thing on the shelf, then you touch your face, then you pick up your phone, you tap on your phone, then you touch the keypad to enter in your car and stuff like that. You have to be wary of that. I'm not saying you should change your gloves after everything you touch, per se, but I'm just saying be mindful of making sure you're only touching things you need to touch, and then obviously immediately disposing of your gloves when you get out of the store, and then wiping everything down once you get back home, just to be safe. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It just goes to show that normal, regular, healthy people can get this. It's not, if you've been paying attention, you know this already, but it's not just an old person disease, it's not just this person or that person, it's everybody disease, and I guess that was part of the reason why Von Miller wanted to come forward, was to showcase that I'm a professional athlete, I'm in very good shape, again, have been doing everything I can, and I still got it, which is why you should remain inside as much as you can, so you lower the risk of you going outside and catching it, because as long as no one in your house has it, I would think you would be fine. Again, don't really know, per se, because everybody's got to leave and stuff. So, like I said, don't leave unless you have to. If you have to, you have to. Then just be careful, wear a mask, wear gloves, whatever. But if you don't have to leave, don't leave. It's not, at this point in time, it doesn't seem worth it to me, just because of the dangers that can come from it. So now he's got it. I think he's there with his girlfriend. She's there with his girlfriend. And so now she's going to be around him. She's very likely going to get it, if she doesn't already have it, which is unfortunate. So yeah, he's stuck. He's quarantined in his house. And, this was already Thursday. Let it be known. He hadn't known that long before the official statement came out. The Bronx also put out a statement, and they said that Miller went public with his diagnosis to emphasize that anyone can be afflicted with this virus, and he remains under the care of the team doctors. He posted on his Instagram story later thanking everyone for the support. He's going to do whatever he can to get through this. And he's imploring everyone to take it seriously, because obviously it's for real. Most people don't take it seriously until someone they know has it. And that's usually when it clicks for people. Sometimes then still, I know some people who have beat it and they think, oh, it's a hoax. Or not a hoax, but it's just it's not a real thing because they beat it. Because if it were real, then they wouldn't have beat it or whatever. And I'm just that's not how diseases work. But whatever. Miller is the first member of obviously the organization known to test positive for COVID-19, the team said, adding that its doctors are following all coronavirus treatment procedures while caring for Miller. He's a second active player, known at least to test positive. On Wednesday, Los Angeles Rams center Brian Allen told Fox Sports he tested positive. So yeah, I remember also Jay's Glazer clocked some flack because that was his big news. Obviously, I'm not a news breaker. I don't have a source or anything like that, but I would implore people when there's a lot of crazy stuff happening, there's a lack of news going out there. If you have news, just say that was weird of him to hold on to that for 24 hours. He was just I have some big thing I'm going to announce, and everyone's like, oh, okay, what could it be? We don't have any sort of news at all right now, so we will take literally anything. Then once he tweeted out oh, it's not, because it could be a trade, could be a signing, could be a bunch of different things, especially NFL related. And once he said that it wasn't really any of those things, everyone's like, well, well, why'd you even let us know? You could just came out with the fact that this guy has coronavirus. I understand he's the first guy in the NFL, so that's kind of a big deal. But that's not like he's not a big enough player to be like, oh, I got to keep this a secret. I don't think. Hey, if he didn't want you to tell him, then just don't even mention it until he's ready for you to let it be known. But that was funny. He caught a lot of heat for that, which I understood because don't play with people's emotions like that, in my opinion, especially during this time. If you have some serious news, break it. If you don't, and you don't, it is what it is. Don't worry about it. Again, that's just me personally. But so yeah, this diagnosis of Von Miller and Brian Allen goes to show that the NFL has a lot of steps to go through before it can even consider playing in a league. Personally, just because, and this kind of leads into my second point B, is that we don't know who's going to get it. That's why it's important that the off-season is virtual, which I know I talked about a lot on the last podcast, the fact that the NFL is going completely virtual this off-season, even though, again, states are trying to open back up the economy and blah, 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 and I'm just like, the economy is going to hurt worse if people are dying at a higher rate. Hey, I'm not I didn't major in economics in college, but I feel like I have a decent idea about how businesses work, and I'm like, if you don't have anyone to work your business because they're all sick, I feel like that's worse than you not being able to open your business at all, or your business being closed, because it's going to be closed regardless. So that seems kind of counterproductive, but whatever. Yeah, like I'm saying, it just goes to show that we have a lot of steps to go for anything to get started up again. I know NBA, they're talking about they're optimistic that something can happen, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. Again, until one person catches it, and then it's all over again, and you got to go back to shutting everything down. So, like I'm saying, the NFL needs to be mindful of this and not try to rush anything. And again, he just got this just chilling around his crib, maybe going out for a little bit here or there, but nothing. He wasn't too serious. He wasn't even around that many people. It's not like he was going to parties. It's not like he was hanging out at club facilities, practice, or whatever. You can pick this up literally anywhere. Literally. And again, you could be around people. He might have got it from his girlfriend. We really don't know. And it's hard to ever really know where it originated from. But that's the dangers with this disease, and that's why I'm saying the NFL needs to take as much precaution as they can when trying to get the league started up. I know they said they're going to release the schedule. I think it was May 9th. Like, they would never regularly would because they're not trying to push anything back. And I get that. It's so far in advance, you kind of have to hope that things will be better by then, but there's a chance they won't be, so don't rush it. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be, just because, again, normal people, NFL players and athletes and coaches and whoever are regular people. There've already been a couple coaches that had it. So I guess these were the first. Yeah, because Sean Payton had it. So yeah, I guess he's fine. I don't know. Did we ever get an update on that? I could be wrong. Maybe there was an update, but I don't remember hearing anything. I assume Charles Barkley's fine too. I don't think we ever got an update on him, like a widespread update. But yeah, so it's just like people are going to get it because they're just living their life, and that's kind of how it comes and gets people, especially when everyone's all over the country. And some places are worse than others. Some places are less strict than others. So it's like, especially if you're in Florida now, you're basically all but going to be free very shortly. So I wish you luck down there, because again, if they're just opening everything back up, there's a good chance somebody is going to pass it along to somebody else, and then obviously it'll go from there. But you know what I'm saying, these couple NFL players getting it should caution the NFL to be like, hold on, let's make sure we're not too hasty in our decision to get everything started back up. Because if we do, and then things go left, then it's a whole disaster. You don't want to be. That's the thing about being the first sports league to start back up. You don't want to be that league that's to close back down. Because I think the CBA in China, they're not getting started up again until July, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I don't like they tried to start it and for whatever reason didn't really work. A bunch of other leagues overseas have gotten pushed back, so no one's really started anything up more or less. This is maybe bits and pieces here or there. Like most things have tried to start and got pushed back, and try to start and got pushed back or whatever. So, like I'm saying, this idea and this concept that everything's just going to be all right, and we're going to be able to work through this, don't bank on that. If you're any league, because you don't want to be that league that starts up and has to fold again. Now, it ruins things for everybody. If you try to start up first and then it doesn't work out, then it's just like, all right, well, now we got to give it even more time. And even more time. So I'm saying you want to start up when you know it's safe. And the more and more I'm thinking about it, the less and less likely it is that will happen this year, especially if there's no vaccine. If there's no vaccine, it's going to be hard for it to at all be safe, even if with the no fans thing and the bubble cities or whatever you want to call them. Even with that, it's still going to be hard for it to be completely safe for these players, coaches, staff members, whoever. It's going to be hard. So I think that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, so like I said, athletes get it, celebrities get it, regular people get it, you and I can get it, anybody can get it. So, like I said, be careful, be mindful, and do what you can to try to flatten the curve so that we can get back to something resembling normal sooner rather than later. And obviously then we'll be back to having sports to watch sooner rather than later. But yeah, it's probably going to be a little while. But, yeah, after this next break, we're going to come back, and I know we talked about on the last episode, Christian McCaffrey getting paid, and now there's a young running back who is trying to see if he can emulate his game for his team. And I guess also try to emulate that contract as well, because, I mean, hey, it's average $60 million a year. I don't know that many running backs that are going to turn that down, so I imagine that was also probably pretty good incentives. Like, I want to be like Christian McCaffrey because he's really good, but also, like, I'm trying to get that money. He's trying to make sure he gets the bag and flips it and tumbles it. It kind of didn't work. Whatever. But yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff right after the break. Stay tuned. It's a Migos lyric. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about this right after the break. Stay tuned.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
So as I just said, or as we discussed in the last podcast, Christian McCaffrey is now the highest paid running back in the league. So it would only make sense that Miles Sanders would want to emulate him. I mean, if you want to be the best, you have to strive to be like or better than the best, and not to say with 100% certainty that Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the league, though, and he's at worst like top 3. I mean, it only makes sense for a guy coming to his second year, soon we have football, to want to try to strive to be like that. Like I said, I mean, who doesn't want to be the highest paid at their position? I know Miles Sanders, he offered up big congratulations to McCaffrey on his new deal and called the Panthers star the reason why I got drafted in the second round last year, though, I mean, obviously, Christian McCaffrey went in the first. So a little bit different, but maybe so. He says when he looks at him, I mean, because backtrack a quick second. Sanders believes McCaffrey's ability to make plays on the ground and through the air changed the way the NFL views running backs now, and that he's hoping to try to build a similar career in the future. This is all from I guess was this like NBC Sports? Yeah, NBC Sports in Philly. This is an article from there. Sanders says that when he looks at him, he looks at a back that is hard to stop. I want to be that back where you think you can stop me in the run game and then boom, I'm outside in the passing game and I'm rolling up yards for the team. I want to be that back where there's no way you can really slow me down or stop me or take me out of the game because I'm so versatile. That's the type of mentality and the type of player that I want to be. I mean, Sanders is on his way. He picked up over 1,300 yards last year from scrimmage. Could have potentially won Rookie of the Year. Obviously, didn't win. Could have also went to Josh Jacobs. I thought it was going to go to Josh Jacobs, but it went to Kyler Murray, which I mean it's a quarterback award. Whatever. I get it. But hey, when you have guys like Miles Sanders, AJ Brown, they help carry their offenses to the playoffs down the stretch. It should matter. Not that Kyler Murray had a bad year, but he didn't have like. I mean, I guess he had a good year for a rookie, but it's not like it was a sensational, like otherworldly kind of year. Just like it was a good year for a rookie, personally. But hey, that's neither here nor there. So Sanders, 1,327 yards from scrimmage as a rookie is actually more than McCaffrey had during his rookie season. And if he progresses like McCaffrey did over his last 2 years, then the Eagles will be happy with the decision of picking him, and then he'll be well on his way to building himself into a McCaffrey-type character, which, again, I think a lot of people are going to try to, emulate just because, hey, that means you can get paid in this manner, or in the same manner as McCaffrey. But also, again, it just makes you more useful. Obviously, the NFL now is going to more spread out, more ecology, if you will, type of offense where you're in the shotgun a lot, you're running three wides a lot, you're having your, obviously you have to keep your back in the block sometimes, but also you're having your back run routes, look at guys like not even just McCaffrey, but Alvin Kamara, what he's done as a receiver his first couple years in the league. The way in which they use like Todd Gurley, mainly on screens, but like the way they use Todd Gurley or like the Kareem Hunts, Gurley before he got injured and Kareem Hunt before he had his little incident. I mean, you can't see the way they use them. I mean, obviously you can go back even further, but this is just more recent examples of this. Yeah, so if you look back at Miles Sanders' first year, he had 179 rush attempts for a little over 800 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. And he also had, in the receiving game, he had 50 catches on 63 targets for over 500 yards. And 3 touchdowns, I believe, with only 3 drops. So a pretty low drop percentage. So yeah, averaged about 10 yards per reception, 4.6 yards per attempt. And that was only on like 11 carries, and a lot of that was later in the year once Jordan Howard got hurt. Averaged almost 6 yards per touch, I know I talked about in the last podcast as well. So if you look back at McCaffrey's rookie season, he had 117 carries for 435 yards and only 2 touchdowns. And then he had 80 catches, though. That was the thing. He had 80 catches for 651 yards at 8.1 yards per reception and 5 touchdowns. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, and then the next year he almost doubled up his rush attempts, had over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, and then he added to his receiving total by over 27. He went from 80 to 107, jumped his yards up by over 200, added another touchdown, had the same yards per reception, which is like kind of funny. And then obviously this past year, he upped his carries even more, had even more yards, had 15 touchdowns on the ground, and then added to that over 1,000 yards receiving at a higher yards per reception clip, only about 9 more receptions than the second year, and 4 touchdowns, so a total of 19. So he went from 7 total touchdowns to 13 total touchdowns to 19 total touchdowns. So every year he's gotten better. So, and like I said, and Miles Sanders, on a yardage standpoint, not necessarily he say he is or isn't, but on a yardage standpoint, was already a better runner than McCaffrey was at this point in his career. Right, I guess after his rookie year. Because he wasn't going to utilize like that much as a rookie. Again, he was utilized more in the pass game. He didn't have as many receptions. Obviously, he had over 30 more receptions than Sanders did. And only about 100 more yards, which is interesting. So yes, I'm saying if he continues on a McCaffrey trajectory, he could be on his way to getting close to that 1,000 and 1,000. I don't know if he's going to... I want to go and speak blasphemous and say he's going to do it, because that's not an easy thing to do. But at the very least, he's on his way to having... I mean, if you have 50 receptions as a rookie, it's only going to increase from there, obviously. That's this seems pretty... It doesn't seem that unbelievable, personally. And also, I guess another guy you can kind of compare him to, I know he's talking about McCaffrey, but Alvin Kamara is another guy who you try to model his game after. Obviously, as a runner, he surpassed Kamara in yards, though Kamara had more touchdowns with 18 his first year on only 120 carries. But then he also had 81 receptions. He had 81 receptions every year. It's kind of funny. Kamara has. He had 81 receptions for 826 yards and 5 touchdowns as a rookie, which is kind of absurd, honestly. But yeah, so those are kind of two guys, and Kamara's never had over 200 yards, 200 rush attempts in a year. Never had, obviously, like I said, more than 81 receptions in a year. Though this past year he was kind of banged up, so that hurt his output a little bit. But yeah, those are two guys that you would think. Yeah, I was trying to remember if McCaffrey won Rookie of the Year. No, Kamara won Rookie of the Year. His rookie season, obviously. But yeah, those are two guys who Miles Sanders can kind of try to hope to emulate and be like, because they're kind of... And I guess Dalvin Cook could be in this too, if... obviously he was a little bit banged up early on, but these are two guys that are able to exploit them, or be able to be utilized, I should say, not exploit, but be able to be utilized both in the run and the pass. Like, sometimes you have guys that are good first and second down, sometimes you have guys that are good third down. If you want to get paid like the elite level players in the league, you got to be able to be good at both. And obviously those guys have shown they're good at both, and that's why maybe Kamara won't get $16 million, but maybe he'll get something close. Obviously, again, he had a down year this year, but last year he ran for, again, a little over 800 yards, over 14 touchdowns, still had 81 catches. It's like I'm saying, Sanders has some guys to strive to be like. And for a lot of them, stat-wise, he's a better rusher than they were their rookie year. Maybe not in terms of touchdown output, but in terms of the number of carries he got and the number of yards he got, his output is higher than both these guys were as a rookie. Though, I mean, Kamara's yards per attempt were much more significant. He had 6.1 on the ground his rookie year, while Sanders only had 4.6. So yeah, that's a big difference. But like I said, it was with Jordan Howard there. It was hard for him to get a rhythm going the first couple weeks of the season, and then obviously once he found his groove towards the end. Because if you look at the game logs towards the end of the season, with some of this being even when he got hurt, because I know the last Giants game he had 9 for 52 in like a quarter and a half. So he was well on his way to a 100-yard game. But the last 3 games of the season, he had 19 for 122 against Washington, 20 for 79, and a touchdown. But a touchdown in both games on the ground. And those two then, like I said, 9 for 52 on the ground against the Giants before he got hurt. And then receiving against Washington, he had 6 for 50 and a touchdown. Against Dallas, he had 5 for 77 and no touchdowns. Then he only had 3 catches for no yards, or -1 yard against the Giants, but again, he got hurt. I think he got hurt the first Giants game too as well, so those were the 2 Boston Scott games, if you will. But you could see, as the season was getting better, he was getting more carries, because the last 5 weeks of the season, minus the Giants game, he's got 15 plus carries every game. So as he got into more of a rhythm, his output increased, which is what you would hope for. So again, he's not going to be new to the workload come the season, though obviously they would like for him to improve. He's not really, he utilized out of the backfield, but he wasn't really like lined up. Like McCaffrey can line up in the slot, Kamara can line up in the slot, Like, they can run routes out of the slot. They can maybe even line up on the outside if they need to. Sanders wasn't really doing that a lot. A lot of his stuff was screens. A lot of his stuff was short passes. You moved him around a little bit more the last couple of weeks. Again, they kind of had to because no receivers. But if he can add that part to his game where he can actually be lined up in the slot and run a route on a linebacker or I guess if they want to put a safety on him, a safety, whoever they want to put on, if he can do that, run the option route, run an in, run a speed out, stuff like that, more than just like the normal swing or screen passes or like the wheel route that I know he had a couple big catches on, and that's obviously a common running back route. But if he can do more than that, then, like I said, he'll be on his way to being the next Christian McCaffrey type back. I'm going to say the next Christian McCaffrey, that would imply going for 1,000. Not going to be easy to do. But I'm saying at least he'll be on the trajectory to be in that same realm and be talked about in the same breath, which is what his goal is. So I thought that was interesting, kind of timely, just the fact that he obviously saluted McCaffrey on getting his big deal, and now he's trying to be like him so he can, again, not only have the success he had on the field, but also, have his bank account look a lot better than it does currently, which I imagine is still pretty good. I mean, second round NFL money is still not bad money, but it's not $16 million a year money either. And I mean, hey, once you start making money, all you want to do generally is make more money. So I don't think he'll be content with what he already has. And like I said, it sounds like he's not. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, like we could be looking at new golden era running backs, right when running backs were supposed to be going out of style. I mean, if they're going to be utilized like this and have the versatility that they have, I mean, why would you not utilize them if you could, if you're an offensive coach? Or just an offense in general. Why would you limit your offense to not utilize your best players in as many different ways as you could? That would seem foolish to me. But hey, people do a lot of things I don't understand. But yeah, so after this next break, a famous rapper compared himself to a recently deceased NBA star, R.I.P. Kobe. And it kind of got a discussion on, one, if that rapper is actually that NBA. It should be compared to the NBA player, and just kind of an overall, who would you match up? I mean, you could do this for other musical acts, but I'm just going to do it for rappers. So what basketball player or NBA player would you match up with current or slightly in the past rappers? So play a nice little game of that, nice little matchup game right after this break. So stay right there.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
So, if you didn't know, and I mean, I guess you could have guessed, but if you didn't know, the rapper who compared himself to Kobe, none other than a man who had a commercial with him, Kanye West. Different. Are you a different animal in the same beast? Don't know what that means, but make sure to thank Kobe for telling you whatever that was and what it meant. And the commercial was really funny. I think it was that was the Kobe system, an old Kobe system commercial. Confusing, and I understand completely why Kanye was confused in the moment. But hey, it makes sense to Kobe, which means it makes sense. So yeah, so he compared him to. He said he's the Kobe of rap, and And then Kobe is the basketball version of him, which caused a bit of a discussion on the Twitters about if that was true. And obviously, people are not really Kanye fans at the moment due to his political affiliations and the whole Sunday service thing, and whether you think it's like real or not real, or some of the musical choices he's made the past few years and some of the stuff he's put out, not exactly his greatest works. But, I mean, at a time, he was great. But yeah, so then let's hit that comparison, and the discussion about it got me thinking of how would I match up musical artists to different basketball players. Both, I mean, I guess a couple from the past, and mainly just currently. So, when you think about it, like I said, the only one I'm really going to touch on from the past is MJ. Obviously, I mean, hopefully you guys, quick sidebar, both of you guys are going to be tuned into that Last Dance documentary. I mean, there's a censored and uncensored version, so you know, things got juicy that they were talking about, so you got to make sure you don't miss that. I mean, I don't know why. That was kind of funny. Jordan came out and said that it's not going to make him look like a good guy, and I mean, like, he's, like, punched teammates in the face before, and his trash talk to various players has been borderline disrespectful, so I don't think anybody was kind of confused on what kind of guy Jordan was, or thought that they would be seeing any other version than the one we're about to get. I mean, he really didn't miss a shot at a camp with Chris Paul. If you miss a shot, then the kids who got shoes, he literally made every shot. So that, and if he's that good to make every shot, he can miss one on purpose so that the kids can get free shoes. Maybe he still got free shoes, but I'm just saying in the moment he was like, yeah, no, that's not happening. So yeah, I don't think there's any confusion about the type of guy he is. No offense, Mr. Jordan, but that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, so like I said, MJ's the only one from the older generations of basketball players I'm going to add in. That's just because gotta put Jay-Z in here somewhere. So I guess I'll do rapper to athlete, because again, technically a sports podcast. But so Jay-Z would be the MJ, obviously considered by many the greatest of all time. A lot of accomplishments, a lot of great moments. Even took some breaks, had some fake retirements. Said he was going to retire, then he ended up dropping more music. It's like Jordan said he was retiring, played baseball, then came back. Though many people have different conspiracy theories on what that retirement was actually for. Not going to get into that. Maybe we'll be discussing in the documentary, so I guess I'll stay tuned for that. But not going to get into that here. You can find it if you want to look it up. Or we can discuss it on Twitter, so you can reach out to us there. But yes, then there's that. Even on his Wizards years, while not as good, still pretty decent. I know that Carter's album that Jay-Z and Beyonce did wasn't terrible in my personal opinion. Not everybody loved it, but it wasn't terrible. I know the 444, everybody pretty much loved from Jay-Z. So like I said, even in his later years, he still has very, very high-level moments. Even when you think he's done, he still has his high-level moments. So, and he's still involved. Like I said, MJ is an owner of a team now. He owns, or I guess he's a part of Rock Nation Sports. Now he has athletes signed under him. Not really under him specifically, but under his umbrella, I should say. I guess he owned a team for a short period of time. It was a small portion of the Nets, but that did happen. So a lot of correlation there. So that was nice and simple to me in terms of LeBron. I guess, in my opinion, that would be Drake, just because both these guys, while they both have very, very strong fan bases, for better or worse, people that would defend them to the grave, which is interesting. I mean, obviously I know Eminem made the word stan popular, but I mean, LeBron's one of the first athletes I've ever seen have stans. And Drake's not the first. I don't think he's the first musical act to ever have stans, but he has some of the strongest stans in the social media era in terms of, LeBron literally has a base of fans that follow him from team to team that will change teams in their rooting interest based on the team LeBron is on. Unheard of, at least in my opinion. Again, I know I'm not that young, but I haven't been around for forever. But that's a relatively new concept, if I do say so myself. And LeBron helped bring that into sports fandom, if you will. That the idea that it's okay to switch affiliations of teams because I only care about one player, I don't care about the team. No one was doing that before. And obviously Drake hasn't switched teams, but he's again has the same kind of, I don't want to say cult following per se, but just like that same sort of stand base where he can put out almost anything, and it'll, like I said, even that new song he put out recently, a lot of people thought it was terrible. I thought it was alright, but a lot of people thought it was terrible. Still went number 1 on Billboard. Doesn't really matter. He has that core fan base that will support him no matter what. And both have had some missteps. LeBron had the decision. Drake with the whole ghostwriting thing. Not exactly perfect, but they've been arguably the best in the game for 10 years now. I mean, I'm trying to think of, because I don't know, because it's hard to say officially when LeBron was viewed as the best player in the league, probably like around 09, 010. I mean, you could argue as early as 07, but I'll give you a grace period. You can say I would say like 09 officially. And I'm trying to think when Drake was considered the biggest rapper in the game. I'm trying to think, was that around? So Far Gone was 2009. Might have been pretty close to that, honestly. When that was I think that was around the time where he was like, shout out to Lil Wayne, which I'll touch on in a minute. But he had a song, Money to Blow, and he was saying that like we, as in Young Money, will be all right if we put Drake on every hook, because there was a time period where like every song on the radio had like a Drake feature or like a Drake hook or it was his song or whatever. Like you just couldn't escape him. That's kind of the same way LeBron is. Like everything he does is postable. Whether he's on the court, off the court with his family, doing whatever, just everything that he does is a big deal. You can't escape him. That's kind of the same way Drake is. You can't really get away from him. So that seems like an easy comparison. Speaking of Wayne, I would say he's more Kobe because these are both guys that came into the league young, were a part of something dominant. It got disbanded. For whatever reason, obviously he came in, Hot Boys. Everything when he was a teenager. Kobe was a teenager, came straight from high school. I don't know if there's not necessarily anybody on. I mean, like Juvenile was kind of big, Manufacturer was kind of big, Birdman was kind of big, but there wasn't. I don't know if there was any of them were Shaq per se, but had a great run with the Hot Boys, then kind of broke off. Had excellent years with the mixtapes, like the Drought and No Ceilings, stuff like that. So had a great mixtape run. Obviously, has his own run-ins with the law, as Kobe did, but then was able to bounce back from that. Or just, I guess, well, I don't know how many run-ins with the law he had, but I don't know. He had some lean addiction issues, Lil Wayne did. And obviously bounced back, and then came back with Young Money, and boom, he set the world on fire again. A la Kobe with Pal, Lamar Odom, Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, Trevor Ariza. I'm trying to think who else was on that team. That was important. Those are probably the main guys. And all at the same time, he still had Phil Jackson as the coach. And Birdman still in his corner, though he had to break off from Birdman because Birdman wasn't giving him the money. Kobe didn't have those issues. Kobe got paid all the way through and through. So like I'm saying, even towards the end, he still showed glimmers and moments. I know, obviously, Kobe's, the way he went out, was obviously, the last game was great, but then, he had the injuries and all that stuff. Didn't even get to the playoffs, and I wouldn't say that the last few albums from Lil Wayne have been, like, injuries, but they're not as good. But every once in a while, he sprinkles in some greatness. That's what the great ones do. They can sprinkle it in here and there, which that makes sense. Kanye is a weird one, because I would think he's more of a... I don't know, I want to say KD, just because, again, they both came in, they took over the game pretty young. I mean, the first 4 or 5 albums from Kanye, you could all say classics, and that's even if you discount the stuff he produced for Rockefeller. And then KD won National Player of the Year, a freshman in college. Came in Rookie of the Year, won multiple scoring titles by the time he was like 23. Went to the finals as a kid. Then that's where it gets a little tricky because their career path kind of diverted from there. Though, I will say they both have an immense self of like wanting to feel appreciated for what they do. I know there's a book coming out on KD and kind of just like the way he felt he was treated as a member of the Warriors. And I know there was a time period when Kanye was doing all those rants on, he did one at Penn State when I was there on his, I think this was the Yeezus tour. He did like a rant on like Sway and like Charlamagne. It was like a mess. We were all confused for like 20 minutes. He just started ranting and just like stopped playing songs and we just like talking. It was a mess. But yeah, just like they both really care what people think about them and their play and their music and stuff like that and the way that they're viewed. As you could change that, but also you could also kind of, I don't know, because I was trying to figure out somebody if you compare him to Steph, because also kind of the way that what they do kind of changed the game. Because like the what's it called? Kanye kind of made it cool for like non-hood necessarily like rappers to make it big, and also kind of with the use of autotune kind of changed the way that like rappers use. Because now a lot of rappers use autotune. I mean, without him, Travis Scott probably doesn't exist, and like Steph Curry, obviously without him, maybe a guy like Trae Young doesn't exist. So it was trying to find a place for Steph. But yeah, that was a tough one. I mean, if I make him KD, then you could also say this probably would be the last one I do. You could say Travis Scott is James Harden. Obviously, the Houston connection makes that easy, but also they were under the umbrella of somebody else. Obviously, Harden was a sixth man on the Russ and KD teams, early Thunder teams, and Travis Scott kind of came up under Kanye, but once they broke off, they kind of blossomed into a star. Not that they're bigger than the other two, or better than the other two, but like they became at the same level, and that's kind of what Travis Scott has become. Obviously, the way, and I guess also they can also kind of, Harden has a signature step back. Travis Scott has a signature like sound with the autotune and stuff. He does like every concert with autotune. So I'm saying even there's similarities even between them in that regard. So like I said, I didn't want to go. You could do a long list, but I want to touch on some of the main heavy hitters, if you will. And I'm saying I feel that's a strong five. Jay-Z, MJ, Drake, LeBron, Lil Wayne, Kobe, Kanye. I'll give him KD, maybe Steph, depending on who I decide to want to be Steph, and then like Travis Scott could be James Harden, and then like I said, you can keep going, but that's my five. You guys can tell me some other comparisons you guys have, or just it doesn't have to be rap. It could be R&B, pop, country, whatever artist you want to compare an athlete to. I'm all ears. So yeah, you can get back to me on that. But after this next break, we're going to come back, and I saw this. And there's another thing I saw on Twitter. Someone tweeted out, what are some specific things, like very specific things you miss about sports not being around anymore? And they got me thinking of what, like, very specific, like, things, whether it's in games or whether it's from specific players or about atmospheres or whatever, that you miss now that the sports are no longer happening. So yeah, I got me a solid list of things that I miss, and that I'll talk about right after this break. So stay right there.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and One Championship. We got the fights covered. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
So the tweet that kind of set this off and set off my line of thinking in regards to these specific things was someone tweeted, I saw a retweeted, what very specific thing do you miss about sports the most? Be as specific as possible. So, I mean, that's not just like, oh, I miss football or, oh, I miss basketball. It's like, what aspect of it do you miss? So, like, obviously, specifically. So it got me thinking. And one of them, for me, is I haven't heard a good Mike Breen bang in, like, a very long time. And I mean, that's when you knew, like, when Mike Breen hit the very heavily emphasized bang, that's when you knew that it was a big shot. And I know I've seen some discussion on this, and it's a very true point. If you were ever watching a game and Mike Breen hit the bang and it was against your team, like, you could feel it in your chest, like, as he's saying it. It's as if he's saying it to you in your living room or in your bedroom or at the bar, wherever you're watching the game at. If you, like, when it happens, you can, like, feel it in your soul. Like, when it's that big one. Or, like, so that, I mean, that those always hurt. Obviously, they're much better when you're on the opposite end of them. So, like, if you're on the team that just hit the big shot, like, that feels even better when you get the bang for it. Because, I mean, he doesn't use it all the time, but he breaks it down when it's necessary. That's why Mike Breen's one of the best. Yes, I'm saying, so that hurts. Or they're like, oh, he puts it in. Like, just kind of like the kind of like surprise and like, oh, I didn't expect that one to go in. That one, I missed that one too. Or the one that really hurts is this is the combo. The combo can really get you when you hit you with the bang, and then just like right after that, just like this is the largest lead of the night. That's when you know it's like, oh, okay, you know, we're in bad shape here, boys. When you get the bang, largest lead of the night combo, you know your team is probably done for, because you know it doesn't normally break that out in the first half. That's normally a second half, third, fourth quarter kind of thing. So if someone hits that dagger three to give them like a 9-point lead after your team had been up the entire game, that's when you know it's like, all right, it might be time to pack it in. So that's one thing I definitely miss, is just the very specific Mike Breen calls. Another thing, obviously, again, we haven't really lost football technically, but if and when, I don't want to say when, but if we do, one of the things I will miss, and it's funny because you'll see it in video games, you'll see it all over, is whenever DBs celebrate when a pass is incomplete and they had absolutely nothing to do with it happening. I like to call it the Jalen Mills special. Because if you are an Eagles fan, you've watched Jalen Mills wag his finger to a lot of plays in which he had nothing to do with, but the pass is incomplete. So he's like, no. And I'm just like, yeah, but like you were beat by like 3 steps. The quarterback just overthrew the ball, or like he just threw it out of bounds or something, or it was like something. It had very little to do with you. And I'm not that he's the only one, but like I said, you'll see it in like Madden too, when like someone makes like whatever reason your quarterback will make like a bad throw, and the cornerback would like wave his arms like no, like incomplete kind of thing, and I'm just like, you don't even know. You don't know. You didn't do anything. This had nothing to do with you. The incomplete pass had literally zero to do with your defense that you played. But hey, you gotta celebrate. And speaking of yeah, like I said, that's the good old Jalen Mills special. I thought we were going to be done with that, but now he's back with the Eagles, so there is that. Another thing, this kind of goes along with that. After the big turnover, you have to, and it's a must, you have to sprint down to the other end of the field. It can't be the end zone that you're closest to. It has to be the opposite end of the field and go take the picture. I'm going to miss that. Even though it's kind of dumb, even though it's unnecessary, even though it's maybe a little bit played out, if you will, I definitely miss that a lot. Or I definitely will miss that a lot. Just because it's like, it's funny because every time it happens, you knew it was going to happen, but still something about it is still kind of hilarious to me. Just that every time there's a turnover, defense has to sprint to the other end of the field. It's been happening for like 3 or 4 years now. Like, this is not like, you thought this would be like a 1 year, like, oh, it's just a fad, it'll eventually go away kind of thing. Like, no. it's here, and it's here to stay, apparently. And people are going to be doing this till the end of time. It seems like, or less, as long as they have cameras, or it's televised. That's going to keep happening. And like I said, I'm going to miss that if we don't get football back. That's just like that thing is just like so funny to me. I don't know why teams feel the need to do this every turnover, but they feel the need to do it every turnover, and that's funny to me. Also, I guess I currently miss Shaq and Chuck having beef on the set, and Kenny egging it on. Beef about anything, doesn't really matter. I mean, how many times has Shaq told Charles he can't sit at the same table with him because he has no rings? I mean, it's going to happen until the end of time. But I'm going to miss it, and I do currently miss it, so that's really unfortunate for your boy. Because, like I said, even though they may not be the analysis may not be the best, or may not be the most statistically based, or it's more just like, this kind of just how I feel, which, again, is fair. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but in theory, we should have at least something to back up your opinion. They don't always have it, but that doesn't make it any less entertaining, and it's like easily one of the most entertaining. I don't even know what you want to call it, like studio shows. In all sports, it doesn't matter. Like I'm saying, we're talking. You could match it up with anything. There's not really much. There's not really much that's more entertaining, I should say, than that. Just because Chuck and Shaq in the same room talking about anything is going to be funny because it's going to find ways to make fun of each other. Even if it has nothing to do with basketball, they're still going to find ways to make fun of each other. So I missed that. And then Ernie kind of trying, but not really trying to like keep the peace. And then, like I said, Kenny Smith just like egging it on. That always makes it. That always makes it enjoyable. What else am I going to miss? I haven't seen a good bat flip in a while. I love bat flips. I wish I was better at baseball so that I could utilize the bat flip more. I think I only did like a half bat flip like one time in my life. Like every other time I hit like a no doubt home run, I was like too young, and like bat flips weren't, I mean, they were still a thing when I was like 10, 11, but they weren't really as prominent as they are now. Like if I was like a 12-year-old kid now that played baseball, I'd be bat flipping a lot. But it wasn't really a big bat flip guy. I was more just like a drop the bat kind of guy. It's not really the same. But yeah, no, a good bat flip is just beautiful. It's a sight to see. It just, the rage it induces on the other team, it's just, oh man. I miss it, honestly. Now, I don't miss like seeing people get hit. I will not say that I hate those unwritten rules of baseball. And I'm just like, dude, if you didn't want somebody admiring their work, like, it's like, in what other profession can you not admire your work? Like, you do something good, you want to take a look at it like, wow, I did that. I really did that. That's amazing. Let me just take a second to take it all in. But now when you do it in baseball, like, next thing you know, next to that bat, you get hit. I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, don't throw a pitch that can get hit for a home run. And if you do throw a good pitch, that's even more reason to stare at it. If I take a pitch, if you throw me a nasty breaking ball, and I stay back and put it over the fence the opposite way, if I'm, like, impressed, like, wow, that was pretty good. Like, how are you mad at me? Like, I made a good pitch, or you throw a nasty breaking ball, it drops out of the zone, I go down, fish it, out, hit a home run. I just did my job really well. Why are you mad at me? I mean, hey, if you throw it over, if you throw a fat pitch over the middle part of the plate, I mean, you have no room to complain. I'm sorry. I understand that you may be more mad about, like, to the tough pitch, but if you throw one right over the plate and someone hits it out, like, come on, like that, you have no one to blame but yourself, honestly. No one to blame but yourself. Who are you mad at, me or yourself? Honestly, who are you mad at? Because it shouldn't be me. Bat flip or no bat flip. It shouldn't be me. I just did what I'm supposed to do. If you did your job better, we wouldn't be in this predicament. Or you wouldn't be in this predicament, obviously, because I'm not in a predicament because I just hit a home run. I'm enjoying my nice little trot around the bases. But yeah. So that's another thing that I miss. What else do I... The bat flips are a good one. I miss, like I said, I haven't seen a good bat flip in a while. Obviously, there's no baseball. Bat flips are my favorite part of the game. I haven't seen anyone got postered. Like, I miss like a quality like guard on center slam. And the stare down after. The stare down has to be tech or no tech. You have to do the stare down after too. I miss that. So maybe take that back. I miss the stare downs after dunks. That's what I miss. To be more specific, I miss the stare downs after the dunks. That's like that's the best part of the dunk to me. Is after you dunk and you're just like, yeah, that just happened. I've never been able to do that. Dunk on somebody. I've dunked a couple times in my life, but never on someone to the degree in which I should stare at them to let them know, like, yes, you didn't dream that legitimately happened to you. I'm sorry. You should. I'm sorry I just had to embarrass you in front of your entire family like that. And I guess really the world, especially if it's on TV. Yikes, there's no running from that. I see why LeBron deleted the film from the Nike camp back in the day. When Jordan Crawford, I believe it was, got him good. Getting dunked on has got to be a terrible feeling. Like, honestly, like, you go up, you can make a nice contest, the guy just somehow evades it and dunks on you, and everyone's just like, whoa. Then the crowd erupts, everyone on the court just kind of like pauses for a second. It's got to be the worst feeling in the world when you get dunked on. You try to inbound the ball and run up the court as quickly as possible, act like it didn't happen. Then the moment the play stops, everyone goes back and is talking about it. God forbid you foul him, too. If you foul him so there's time in between to really let it sink in, I mean, you might as well just fight the guy. Honestly, you might as well just fight him on the court. There's no, like, what else are you going to do? You gotta get your dignity back somehow. Ooh, but then if you fight him and you lose, yikes. That makes it even worse. So maybe scratch that. Don't fight unless you know you can fight. If you know you can fight, then alright. But if you can't fight, then no, it's not worth it. 'Cause then if you get beat up too, or you look bad, it's only gonna make it worse. So yeah, I'm trying to think of one last good one. What's another? I'm trying to think of one last good one. Oh, well, if we don't get football, we're going to miss out on 16 plus games worth of Chris Collinsworth sliding into the frame on Sunday Night Football. Now that's going to be disappointing. And also, I guess, side note, if they don't replace Monday Night Football, we're going to miss a lot of Booger explaining things that are pretty obvious if you watch a lot of football. Like, he's the king of, like, pointing things out that, like, yes, thank you for pointing that out, even though we all already knew that already. We appreciate that. So I'm going to miss all that. We're going to miss all the jokes. We're going to miss people making fun of him. Not, like, in, like, a spiteful way, but just, like, making fun of, like, come on, dude. Like, we know that already. Miss out on all that. So, yeah. Collinsworth sliding in. Booger McFarlane explaining things to us that we already knew. Or just, like, explaining things wrong. Like, he'll just say things and I'm like, that there's no way that's right. I'm going to miss out on all of that. There's no sports. So, long story short, hopefully there's sports back because I need all those things in my life. ASAPually. So, I don't know. Well, I'm never that optimistic about sports coming back. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Never that optimistic. Doesn't seem like it's going to be safe, but hey, if they find a way to make it work, I will be front and center watching it. I promise you that. I can promise you that. I will be there. Doesn't matter what sport it is, I'll be there to watch. But yeah, that'll do it for me here today on the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by GSMC Podcast Network. I want to thank you guys, as always, for listening to me talk. If you like what you heard today or on past episodes, please remember to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Make sure you never miss an episode. Make sure I was on top of when we drop our latest stuff. Also, if you could please as well, give us a 5-star rating, write us a nice review. It'd be very appreciated. It's very helpful. See what you guys like, what you guys dislike, what you can improve, all that fun stuff. And also, if you're on social media, we're on social media, so you can find us there, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We can talk, we can chat, we can debate, we can discuss. You can tell me the things that you miss specifically about sport again. Be as specific as possible. And it makes it more fun. You can tell me why this whole Jalen Green situation isn't going to affect the NCAA, I should say, in the least bit. They're going to be completely fine, no effect whatsoever. No one's even going to follow his path. You can tell me why maybe college football with fans would work. I'm all ears to that because I don't think it will. But hey, I'm open to listen. I got nothing but time. You can give me your rapper player comparisons. Who would you try to match up? Again, I only listed 5, and there's obviously a lot of NBA players still left and a lot of rappers still left, so I'm all ears to hear your comparisons as well. But yeah. Oh, and also before I forget, I'd like to do this every episode. Give a shout out to the essential workers out there. Nurses, doctors, grocery store workers, restaurant people, whoever out there is deemed essential, thank you for putting your life on the line to make sure that people like me are treated properly, or are able to get food, water, in some cases for some people alcohol, whatever necessities we need. You're out there at the stores on the front lines dealing with all these people that are not doing their best to make sure that you're safe, let alone that they're safe. So you're putting yourself at risk every day, and for that, I appreciate you. And obviously the special shout outs like the police officers, nurses. Not that they're any doctors, firefighters, not that they're any better than the regular grocery store essential workers, but obviously they're even more so on the front lines where they're actually the ones treating the people. And they're directly in contact with it. The grocery store people might not be. Those guys are directly in contact. So hope you guys are all good and protected, and they're giving you more and better equipment now to be able to handle it. Because obviously, at the end of this, we all want to be safe, and we don't want any more lives lost than is necessary. Because, I mean, the number now is already too much, in my opinion. But we'll see. Hopefully this gets better before the second wave shows up. Yeah, that'll do it here from me today. I've been Chris Blades. This has been my time, and until next time, peace out.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.